For most people, trust in government is not something they think about every day. It's invisible, assumed, quiet. It exists in the background of daily life when you walk into a hospital, when you speak to a doctor, when you believe that the people in power are restrained by rules you can't see. That trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it never fully returns. In the early years of the Cold War, the United States was gripped by a fear unlike anything it had known before. World War II had ended, but peace never arrived. Instead, a new enemy emerged, sure, one that couldn't always be seen. Communism. American intelligence agencies believed the greatest threat wasn't military invasion. It was infiltration, subversion, control from within. They feared that the enemy had discovered a way to break people without leaving scars, a way to erase loyalty, to destroy resistance, to control the human mind. There was no clear evidence this was happening, but fear doesn't need evidence. It only needs imagination. So behind closed doors, without public oversight, without debate, without consent, the CIA made a decision that would haunt American history. They would experiment on the human mind. They would learn how to take it apart. They would cross lines no one was meant to cross. They called it Project MK Ultra. There was no announcement, no warning, no record for the public, only classified approvals and silence. From the very beginning, MK Ultra was designed to operate outside the law. It was not meant to be questioned. It was not meant to be understood by anyone outside a small circle of power. Its goal was not healing, it was domination. Understanding how to strip a human being of identity, memory, and resistance. Thousands of people became part of the program. Most never volunteered. Many never knew. They were prisoners promised reduced sentences, mental health patients seeking relief, soldiers following orders, students trusting authority, ordinary civilians living ordinary lives. They were chosen not in spite of their vulnerability, but because of it. Across the United States and Canada, the CIA secretly funneled money into hospitals, universities, and research institutions. Front organizations were created to hide the true source of funding. Some doctors knew who they were working for. Others didn't ask questions. What mattered was results. Patients entered psychiatric hospitals hoping for care. Instead, they were isolated, locked away for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes longer. Sleep deprivation was used to weaken resistance, verbal abuse to strip dignity, sensory deprivation to disorient perception. The goal was simple: break the mind down to nothing. Then came the drugs. Dozens of substances were tested, but one became central to MK Ultra: LSD. At the time, LSD was barely understood. It was powerful, unpredictable, and dangerous. To the CIA, that made it valuable. They believed LSD might unlock hidden layers of consciousness or completely destroy them. Subjects were given LSD without warning, some once, some repeatedly, some daily. One man was documented as being given LSD every single day for more than 70 days. 70 days without certainty, 70 days without control, 70 days without knowing if reality itself still existed. People lost their sense of time, their sense of self, their sense of safety. Some screamed, some cried, some withdrew completely. When they begged for it to stop, it didn't. In secret CIA safe houses, civilians were lured in under false pretenses. Prostitutes were sometimes used to bring men into rooms where they were unknowingly drugged. Agents watched from behind one-way mirrors as subjects panicked, hallucinated, and broke down. The CIA called this observation. The victims experienced terror. Many were released without explanation, without medical follow-up, without answers. They returned home changed, families noticed. Loved ones became paranoid, unstable, afraid of their own thoughts. Marriages collapsed. Jobs were lost. Lives quietly unraveled. No one explained why. One man's story would later expose how far MK Ultra had gone. His name was Frank Olson. Frank Olson was not a prisoner, not a patient. He was a CIA scientist. In 1953, Olson attended a work retreat with colleagues. During the meeting, he was secretly given LSD without his consent. At first, he didn't know what was happening. Then everything began to fall apart. Olson became anxious, paranoid, deeply disturbed. He questioned the morality of his work. He spoke about leaving the agency. He feared he had been involved in something unforgivable. Friends noticed his mental state deteriorating. 9 days later, Frank Olson fell from the window of a New York hotel. The CIA told his family it was suicide. They offered condolences. They offered silence. Decades later, new investigations suggested something far darker. That Olson may have been a liability. That his death may not have been voluntary. The truth may never be known. For years, MK Ultra remained buried, protected by classification, secrecy, and time, until the 1970s. Journalists began uncovering fragments. Congressional hearings were launched. The CIA was forced into the light, and then something irreversible happened. In 1973, as scrutiny increased, the CIA destroyed the majority of MK Ultra files. Thousands of documents were burned, names erased, experiments erased, victims erased. What survived was incomplete but devastating. Government officials admitted MK Ultra existed. They admitted people were experimented on without consent. But they claimed they no longer knew how extensive it was. Too much evidence was gone. No senior officials went to prison. Few victims received compensation. Many were never identified. Families were left with unanswered questions. MK Ultra was not a rumor, not a myth, not a conspiracy theory. It was real. It was funded by taxpayers, approved by authority, hidden by secrecy, and it exposed a truth that still unsettles people today, that under enough fear, even a democracy can betray its own people. To this day, the full scope of Project MK Ultra remains unknown. Not because it didn't happen, but because someone made sure we would never know everything. And that leaves us with one final question, one that still matters. If this was possible once, when no one was watching, what else might still be hidden?